I've been making videos for over a year now and somehow I've managed to avoid doing any sort of haul video. But every year I binge watch these kinds of videos, especially in the run up to Christmas Day. I always get so excited and I love seeing what other people got. I thought, why not make my first haul one of these videos because I love them so much. I decided to ask for books that I would not necessarily buy for myself. So the three categories are comic books that I really wanted but didn't get a chance to buy, books relating to comic books, and books that you just think, who else on this earth would even buy this book? They're sort of like really niche. These are all the comic books that I got. Oh, I'm so excited. So the first one is Winter Soldier, the complete collection by Ed Brubaker. My favourite ever Marvel film is The Winter Soldier, Captain America the Winter Soldier. So I wanted to read this since I saw the film, like, it wasn't even last year, was it? It wasn't even in 2015, it was in 2014. Ugh. It's been such a long time that I've wanted this. Why haven't I got it before now? Anyway, so this is all about the Winter Soldier, obviously, and Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow, is, I think, quite heavily involved in his backstory. So I'm really excited to get to this because they are two of my absolute favourite characters from the films. The art looks like this. It's all quite dark colours, blues, reds, blacks, and flicking through there's quite a lot of action and blood as well, quite a lot of blood splatters, so it looks very action-packed and I can't wait to get around to this. There's a funny story with this next one, and it is Young Avengers Volume 1, Style More Than Substance. So this is about a group of superheroes who are like teenagers, so I think it's more of a YA kind of comic book. And I'm really excited to read about America because I've heard really great things about her character. The funny story is that I asked for this last Christmas, but Santa mistakenly gave me the second volume instead. So the good thing now is that I have both volumes and I can just read them both in one go. And this is the art. I actually kind of expected the colours in this and the style to be a little bit more cartoony because it is Young Avengers, but it's still quite muted, or a bit more muted than I expected it to be. But there's a lot less blood in this than I could see in the Winter Soldier collection. This next one I have been dying to get my hands on. I think the art just looks completely right up my street. I can't wait to find out about a character and a story, and just so excited. It is Silk Volume 0, The Life and Times of Cindy Moon. So this is kind of like the Spider-Man story, I think. It's in the Spider-Verse, but she's really the only spider kind of character that I've been really intrigued by. Now, like I said, the art style is what's really caught my eye with this. I just love the way it's drawn, and I think the colours are really good as well. And the next three are series that I've already started and I'm just making my way through. So the first one is Miss Marvel Volume 2 Generation Y. Very excited to get to this one. I just uploaded my review at the end of 2015 and yeah, what more can I say about this? Kamala Khan is a Pakistani American teenager who is trying to find a place in the world and figure everything out about life, and along the way she becomes a superhero, and it's just such a fun story, and it's also such fun artwork as well. The colours are really good, and yeah. And everything about this is so much fun, and I just want everyone to read it, and I want it to appear in the TV shows and the films, and yeah. The next one is Captain Marvel Volume 2, and this cover is just hilarious, so I'm hoping that the story matches that. It's really strange with the Captain Marvel series because I've sort of like skipped around in the order of the story, so I think I read the first one of this latest series, then I skipped back to the 2 volumes of the older series and now I'm back to the newer series, so it's going to be kind of hard, I think, for me to like remember where I left off, but yeah, I'm excited to get to this one as well. And finally, the last comic book that I got was the one that started it all for me, and that's the Hawkeye series by Matt Fraction. This is volume 5, and I still haven't read volume 4, but I've got that in London. Yeah, this is the first one that isn't written by Matt Fraction, which the other 4 volumes were, so I'm quite interested to see if the story changes, if the character changes, what happens there. It has such a down-to-earth feeling to it that I think it's like a really good gateway into the comic book world. And also, can we just talk about this cover, because I think it's just fantastic. And this is what the artwork looks like inside. Very excited. I forgot one. I decided to go out of my comfort zone and I asked for Nimona by Noelle Stevenson. I really like her art style, and yeah, I was just really intrigued to know what happens in this because it's been talked about a lot on BookTube. Other than V for Vendetta, I don't think I've read another comic that wasn't Marvel, so here we go. That's going to fill that gap. One day I will get around to reading a DC comic book at some point. I think it might be Gotham Academy. Storynut recommended that one to me on Goodreads, so yeah, I think I'm most intrigued by that one. I think that'll be a nice way in. I really like the font style of this, it makes it quite different, and yeah, like I said, the art style is quite different as well, so yet again, excited to get around to this one. These next 2 are comic books, but they are also about comic books or about a comic book creator. So the first one is Understanding Comics by McCloud, and this is actually done in the style of a comic book. It's more like a graphic novel, I suppose. From what I understand, this talks about how comic books work and like how to read them and how the artists and writers tell the story through this medium, which is very, very interesting to me. The next thing I got is actually an autobiography, but it is still... And the final thing that I got in relation to Marvel Comics is this memoir. It is Amazing, Fantastic, Incredible, A Marvelous Memoir by Stan Lee. If you didn't know already, Stan Lee is like one of the most famous creators behind Marvel, so he wrote quite a lot of the comics in the past and he's now in the films. He has little cameos and it's really fun to spot them. He's also 93 years old this year, which is just crazy. Like, that's amazing that he's still doing films and still going to events and things, and he's 93 years old. I read a sample of this and I really enjoyed the beginning of it, so I'm very interested to read the rest of it and find out more about Stan Lee and more about Marvel and how it developed throughout the years. This next book is the book that has my mum despairing because she's like, when did you become so geeky? But it is Super Graphic by Tim Leong, and it's basically a bunch of graphs about comics and superheroes. I don't even like graphs, but if it's about superheroes, then apparently I'm all for it. And I read this on Christmas Day, so it's really, really quick to get through. I mean, you basically just look at them and you're done. You don't really need to read it. It has quite a lot of interesting facts. So it just kind of explains things about the history of comic books, which is something that I really have enjoyed looking into in the past year. I watch a YouTube channel called Comics Alliance and also NerdSync, and they are really good at like explaining where certain traditions in the comic book world came from, like why do superheroes wear capes, why do they wear the underpants on the outside, things like that. So this book kind of reminded me of those types of videos. The next bookish thing that I got is this easy vegetarian one-pot recipes. The food looks delicious, so yeah, I'm hoping that I can do these recipes justice and not completely mess them up. These next two books are the books that I said are a bit like, what? Why would you even like want these? But the first one is The Fabled Coast by Sophia, Kingshill and Jennifer Westwood. This is all about folklore surrounding the coast of Britain, and yeah, I really like legends and folklore and things like that, and I think it'll be quite good for the types of stories that I want to write, so I'm very excited to get into this one. And the next one, even when I requested this from Santa, he was like, is this actually the book that you wanted? But no, it was the one that I wanted, and it was Ancient Trees by Edward Parker and Anna Lewington. So as the title suggests, this book talks about ancient trees, so trees that have lived to be possibly 4,000 years old, possibly older than that. And while it talks about like the natural history side of things, it also goes into the way that people have made their communities around these trees, and sometimes it's part of their local beliefs and legends and folklore and religions. So far that's been my favourite part of this book. It sounds really strange, but this was like my most anticipated Christmas present this year. Yeah, I've already read like half of it, pretty much without even noticing that I'd read half of it, so if you like trees, this is a really good book. Those were all of the books that I got, so now I'll move on to CDs. For the past 1 or 2 years, I've really only listened to music on Spotify, but I really like having my favourite music in some kind of physical format as well, and I decided to ask for my 3 favourite CDs of the year. And those were American Beauty, American Psycho by Fall Out Boy. I think this might have actually come out in 2014, but I listened to it a lot this year. I think everyone pretty much knows who Fall Out Boy is, but they're sort of like they used to be like an emo, punk, rockish kind of band, and I think they're moving now more towards like more rock. My favourite songs in this are probably, it's so hard, okay, The Kids Aren't Alright, Uma Thurman and 4th of July. I think those are my favourites. This next one is my absolute favourite album of the year, and that was by Royal Blood. I can't actually choose a favourite song. I think Out of the Black, Come On Over, Figure It Out, Little Monster, 10 Ton Skeleton. I've basically named at least half of them, so yeah, it's very rare when an album has so many songs that you like. There's usually a few that are just meh, but I think with this one, every single song I absolutely love, so I definitely recommend this out if you like rock. And the last one that I asked for was the Of Monsters and Men album, which is Beneath the Skin. Of Monsters and Men are my favourite band, and I got to see them this year with Kirsty from Kirsty on Books, which was absolutely incredible. I need to go and see them again because they were amazing live. I was so blown away by it. I think my favourite album is still their debut album. It's got a bit more of a folksy vibe to it, but this one is still really, really good, and it's sort of more rocky than the last one, I think. The next thing I'm going to show you is the thing that you can blame if I ever have a reading slump, and it is The Sims 4. I've been waiting for this for so long. I really wanted it when it came out, but I was still at university, and I thought if I get this I'll spend so much of my life on that and I will never pass university, so I decided to wait, and I waited a bit too long because I've been out of university for a while now, but I finally got it, and I love it so much. I think I like it better than The Sims 3. I think Sims 2 is still my favourite because it had like a really good story mode kind of thing, and you could like take pictures and then write like a paragraph underneath explaining what the sim was doing, and I really liked that story aspect of it, obviously. And then Sims 3 got rid of that, and then Sims 4, I think there is a way that you can do that, so I'm going to need to play it a little bit more to find out. Yeah, this is the thing that you can blame if I'm being super lazy. I'm probably playing Sims 4. And finally, these are the DVDs that I asked for and a few that I didn't. I've watched a few of them now with my family, and that's probably been my favourite part of Christmas this year, is just getting to sit down together and watch a film every day. That's been really fun. So the first one that we watched was Inside Out. I didn't see this at the pictures, so it was completely new to me and I cried so much. I was so surprised. Usually, you know, there's one manly tear that comes down, but this was just manly tear after manly tear, honestly. I was actually very surprised by this because I knew that it was about these emotions that lived in the little girl's head, but as the film progressed, I was realising that it's really about a girl who is depressed. It's about a girl who has depression, and I was really hit by that as someone that has suffered with that before. It really, really got to me, and I think it's just such a good story, and Pixar has done it again. Made me cry. Such a good film. Probably my favourite animated film of this year. Another animated film that I got was Big Hero 6. We have yet to sit down and watch this one, but I did see it in the pictures earlier this year. It's a really fun story. I wouldn't say it was my favourite film of the year, but I think it's a really nice film to sit down and watch together, so I'm looking forward to getting to do that if we can. And this one I didn't ask for and I haven't seen it, but I did want to see it at the time, and that was Tomorrowland, based on the Disney section of the park. We haven't got around to watching this one yet either, but again, looking forward to sitting down and watching it with my family. I haven't heard super great things about this, but I did really want to watch it and I'd like to make my own opinion. I think all of these so far have been Disney, and these two are no exception. They are the Marvel films that came out this year, obviously. There's Age of Ultron and Ant-Man. And I think actually on rewatching both of these, I think Ant-Man was my favourite of the Marvel films that came out this year, which is really surprising to me because I honestly was thinking of not going to see this, and this was like one of my most anticipated releases of this year. And this final one is definitely not a Disney film. It is Mad Max Fury Road. I went to see this and I love the world, and I love the way that you can kind of imagine how it works, but it doesn't go into explicit detail on like how the world works. It just gives you these points of reference and then it just lets your imagination go wild. That's probably my favourite thing about this. I think it'll be quite interesting to watch this with my family because my mum and dad watched the original Mad Max and they weren't really fans, so I'm quite interested to see whether they like this one or don't like it. That's it, those are all of my Christmas presents this year. Well, I hope you all had a fantastic Christmas. Thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye!